So I'm willing to bet about 75% of you, my audience, the aspiring iOS developer or the junior iOS developer, 75% of you have not read Apple's human interface guidelines. And I'd even bet there's a smaller percentage of you that have never even heard of this. And that's a big deal. Like, this is a must read for all iOS developers. And that's the point of this video, because I know many of you haven't read it, some haven't even heard of it. I want to show you this. We're going to go over a couple sections, about 5 sections in general. I'm going to kind of show you the type of information that's in here, and then I'm going to implore you to please go read this if you haven't read it, and bookmark it, because you should read it probably once a year, because it's constantly being updated, as you're about to see. One of the sections we're going to talk about is Catalyst. That obviously wasn't in there last year, so it's always up to date with the latest and greatest, and it's just fundamental for iOS developers. So let's dive into it. And of course, link will be in the description, but a quick Google of human interface guidelines, Apple will take you right here. So you can see there's a version of it for macOS, iOS, tvOS, and watchOS. We're just going to focus on the iOS one for now. But to start off with the sections that we're going to talk about, well, first of all, this gives you like an overview of everything here, some things to think about, some high level philosophy, if you will. But the first category I wanted to go over, again, this is just to give you a feel for the type of information that's in here. And hopefully after you see this, you're going to be like excited to go read it. So let's talk about Mac Catalyst first, because obviously moving forward, this is going to be very, very important, especially as Swift UI apps become more prevalent and you kind of get the iPad, the macOS app for free technically. But you should read this Mac Catalyst stuff, because this will tell you how to adjust your iOS apps to make sure they're still a great experience on the Mac. And we're not going to go through all these sections, line by line. We're just going to do a high level overview. But, basically for Catalyst, it says, the best way to ensure that your app will work well on a Mac is to make sure it works well on an iPad. And then it gives you some particular things to look at, right? Support multitasking, support drag and drop, respond to keyboard shortcuts. It's going to give you all kinds of enhancements that you get for free with a Mac app, right? System preferences, keyboard, all that stuff, split view. One thing I wanted to point out is that you should pay attention to, the conventions and design patterns that have the biggest impact on adaptation can be grouped into 4 key areas. It talks about navigation, user input interactions, how you should do menus, the content scaling. Obviously, like I'm looking at a 27-inch iMac screen. That's a lot different from an iPhone. So the scaling of the content is a big deal. So basically, like I said, this is going to give you what you need to know to make your iPhone app conform to Catalyst. And again, this isn't a Catalyst tutorial, but I'm scrolling kind of fast to show you kind of all the stuff that's in this. Like, there's so much information in the human interface guidelines, right? It's talking about putting your app commands into menus, right? When you're using your MacBook, you have the menu bar at the top there. And how do you convert your iOS stuff into that menu bar on the top of a Mac app? Well, this is going to tell you how to do that. So again, this is the kind of information that is in the human interface guidelines. And this is just one small section. If you look to the left here, where Mac Catalyst, you can see like app architecture. You blow this out. Okay, now you get all these. User interaction. Look at all these in user interaction, system capabilities. So you can see how in-depth the human interface guidelines are. And we're only going to touch on just a couple topics. Like, it's a long read, but again, fundamental for iOS developers. So let's go back up real quick to a smaller section here, just to show you in app architecture, like even the mundane stuff like loading. Like, this tells you how to properly handle your loading states for your app. So like I said, it gets into like the nitty gritty. This isn't just high level, big picture stuff. Like, again, you want to make it clear when the loading is occurring, show content as soon as possible. It says, use placeholder text, graphics, animations to identify when content is available, and then replace those placeholder images when content is there. It may seem common sense to some people, but again, for junior developers or people that are aspiring to be iOS developers, this may not be common knowledge to you. Educate or entertain people while, to mask the loading time. They even give you an example of like a custom loading screen to kind of make the user feel like they're not waiting around. So again, something as mundane as a loading screen gets this kind of attention in the human interface guidelines. So again, this is just an example of some of the stuff you're going to get. Moving on to the next example, let's talk about modality. And I'm just kind of going down the list. Again, just showing you what this is like. A modal screen is these screens that kind of slide up from the bottom. It says modality is a design technique that presents content in a temporary mode that's separate from the user's previous current context. That is the key there. It's like a separate action from what the user's current context is. And it talks about when you should use modals, the best way to use them. Use modality when it makes sense. Create a modal experience only when it's critical to focus people's attentions on making a choice or performing a task that's different from their current task. That's kind of what I just said. You want to keep the modal tasks short and simple and narrowly focused, right? You don't want to avoid having an app within your app. So again, these are just best practices for UI UX. If you're not strong in like just user experiences or UI, just reading the human interface guidelines will up your game a lot. And then more fundamentals like navigation, right? This will teach you the different types of navigation, right? Hierarchical navigation, where, you go down this tree here, and then to go back, you got to kind of retrace your steps back to this top screen. Or, and it gives the example of like settings or mail, use this navigation style. Understanding the flat navigation style, switch between multiple content categories. This is usually kind of like a tab bar. The music in the App Store uses navigation style. Then content-driven navigation, right? And you can kind of see and understand all the different navigation patterns, that an app can use and when to use the right one. And the last piece I want to point out here, because I know a lot of people try to reinvent the wheel here, is use standard navigation components, whenever possible, right? Because like it says, users are already familiar with these controls and will intuitively know how to get around your app. This is kind of the full circle I went through as a developer. Like when I first started, I was like, no, I want to be unique. I want to be different. I don't want to use the default stuff. And then you quickly learn that yeah, you may feel cool to do that, but your users aren't going to know how to use your app. So keep it simple, use the default stuff when applicable. And then two more topics. Like I said, I just want to give you a breadth of different feels here. We're going to talk about haptics because haptics is kind of unique and interesting, and I think they're underused in a lot of apps. Apple uses them a lot, but basically haptics is that little tap tap on your phone that you feel, and this kind of tells you how to use it, when to use it, some advice. You can kind of get an example of it. You can't hear that, but that plays like a little sound. And it tells you some tips on like designing with haptics. I like this. Build a clear and casual relationship between each haptic and its trigger. Ideally, people always know why your app plays a haptic pattern. If a haptic doesn't reinforce a cause and effect relationship, it can become confusing and seem gratuitous. And then things like, just don't overuse haptics. Don't use haptics for every little thing, right? Just like too much of a good thing, never good, right? And just be consistent with it, right? If you have a haptic for a success event, don't have the same haptic for the failure event, right? Just be consistent with it. And again, as you can see, more just information on how to properly use haptics in your app. And then it even tells you, like, if you want to create your own custom haptics, here you go. It tells you all about, the proper way to use it, even links to the core haptics documentation here for you to dive deeper, as the developer. But again, something as kind of niche as haptics, right? Not a lot of people use them. You're getting a lot of information on how to properly use them within your app. And then lastly, we're really going to skim over this one because it's augmented reality. Obviously, that's going to be a big deal. You've heard about the glasses coming out. Apple's really stressing it. The reason I say we're going to skim over this is because this section is really, really long. It basically outlines like how to build a proper AR experience. So we're going to kind of skim over it very quickly. Again, I highly encourage you to come here and read it, but it'll tell you how to, create an engaging and comfortable experience. A lot of pictures too. That's what I like about the human interface guidelines. It's very visual as well. It's not just like a wall of text. It tells you when you're building an AR app, use coaching to get people started. If you've used some AR apps, you're probably seen a screen like this where it tells you to move your phone around and it's interactive. Give people a template on like where to place their objects in AR. When you're designing interactions, like let them use direct manipulation, like let them drag their finger on the object, not like input buttons to spin here as you see on the right. So just things like this on how to build like a proper AR app. And I'm kind of scrolling through just so you can see how in depth they go and how much detail there is. Handling interruptions in the AR, how to properly do that. So I hope that you've seen, now we're going to go back to the beginning here. I hope you've seen how powerful, how much information is in the human interface guidelines. So that's why I say it's fundamental reading. If you're an iOS developer and you haven't read this, you're making a mistake. And, if you haven't heard of this, like hopefully I've enlightened you, please go read this. I would make it a required reading for yourself once a year, probably after WWDC. That's when they introduce a lot of stuff. But hopefully I've encouraged you to go read this. Go check it out. Let me know what you think of it in the description, and we'll see you in the next video.